So, Paladin's got a big overhaul in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and one of the biggest changes is that Divine Smite is now a spell.
In theory, we think that this change was done to solve a lot of the balance issues around how much damage paladins could have put out with their smites. But in practice, a lot of players really don't like the limitations that this change has brought to the paladin class and the way that it's changed how paladins play in 2024.
In this video, we're going to walk through how we've retooled Paladin Smites for the 2024 Paladin with 2 optional class features and a full suite of brand new Smite spells.
So we hope that this allows paladins to really feel like they are bringing the righteous fury, making smites more rewarding and fun to play. So there's a lot to discuss, so let's get rolling.
If you're anything like us, you love dice. And if you're even more like us, you love your dice nice and organized, and you have specific colored dice for specific things. I have a different colored die for my sneak attacks, and I have different colored dice for like bless. I always try to get like those dice sets.
That's why I really love this week's sponsor, Guild Damage Dice, because they've created dice sets for so many different classes, spells, even death saving throws. So you've got perfectly organized dice for all your character abilities, such as matching superiority dice for your fighter that scale from the D8s to the D10s to the D12s, if you ever get that high level.
And the Bardic Inspiration dice do a similar thing. They move up. You have 5d6s, 5d8s, 5d10s, 5d12s, and they all come with a nice little bag as well. But then you have more interesting options. Like, I think the Eldritch Blast is really cool, where you have matching colored D20s and D10s. So you have a set of 4 D20s and 4 D10s, but you can scoop them all up, roll them, and just match which color damage die goes with which color to hit roll, and it just sorts itself out.
They've got dice sets for so many different things, like the Wizard's Portent or Magic Missile, or even when you hand out Bless to all your allies to make sure that nobody forgets to roll that extra D4. I think dice sets like this are super useful. I really, really like them for new players, especially because so often new players we see like they don't know what dice to roll or they forget to roll those extra dice. So I think that having color-coded and matching dice like this is really, really awesome, whether you just like to be super organized and a little bit particular about your dice, or whether you're introducing new players to the game and want to make it a smoother experience for them.
And I think these all come in a very easy to manage little bag, and I think that they're easy to carry around. I would probably have like 4 or 5 of these bags just waiting for me. But it is cool that, like, depending on the character you play, you actually only need your main dice plus maybe 1 or 2 of these to really fill that out. And I'm a person who usually ends up with a main dice set. Even right now for my rogue, I have my main dice set, and then I have a stack of colored D6s that I just leave off to the side for sneak attack. But I bought that on my own. It would be really easy to just grab the sneak attack set and go from there.
And that's especially great because most dice sets come in the traditional, you get 1 D20, 1 D6, 1 D8. And if you're a rogue or a wizard that is needing a bunch of D6s or a bunch of D4s for your sneak attacks and magic missiles, getting matching dice for your spell or sneak attack requires like buying 10 sets of the same dice, whereas for this, you just need the 1. So what you can do is head over to shop.gilded.com/discount/dungeondudes. The link will be right on screen or down below, and you can use our special discount code DungeonDudes at checkout to get 10% off your entire order.
So thank you so much to Guild Damage Dice for sending us some dice that we're definitely going to be using in our upcoming games. And hopefully you can grab some as well and help you roll more dice at the table, because who doesn't love rolling more dice? So thank you, Guild Damage Dice, and now onto this week's episode. All right, so let's start with what doesn't work in the 2024 version. Divine Smite is a spell in the 2024 rules, which paladins can cast as a bonus action when they hit with an attack. This means a paladin can't smite more than once per turn.
So that was the particular balance fix that was trying to be addressed. The old Divine Smite as a class feature let paladins give up their spell slots to create unmatched burst damage. They could smite on every single attack they made. You combine this with Polearm Master, Great Weapon Master, Just paladins could blow up the world with their smites. The 2024 rules clamp down on that hard. And by and large, we agree that multiple smites per turn was pretty much on the high end of the power scale and needed to be toned down.
However, the bonus action casting time also means paladins can't smite on reactions, and it also limits their ability to use feats like Polearm Master, Dual Wielder, and even parts of Great Weapon Master. These are all top tier feats for paladins, which we in the past have loved using on them, and it let them use their bonus action to make additional attacks, but they can't do that if their bonus action needs to be used to smite.
This wouldn't be too bad if paladins had lots of different, maybe scaling Divine Smite spells to choose from. But in the 2024 rules, and really in the 2014 rules, there's not a lot to choose from. There's Thunderous Smite, Searing Smite, Wrathful Smite, Staggering Smite, Banishing Smite, and maybe two others that I'm forgetting. There's not a lot. It doesn't add a lot of identity to the class, and it doesn't give the paladin a lot of different things to do with Divine Smite beyond throw more damage.
As a result, we're seeing a lot of paladin builds just give up completely on Divine Smite, which sucks. And if they focus instead on stacking bonus action spells like Hunter's Mark or the now concentration free Divine Favor, which I agree is awesome. I love the new Divine Favor. But we still want to smite.
Yeah, and so we don't want a solution to the problem of Divine Smite being overpowered by just don't smite at all. We want smites to be impactful and rewarding to use, but not in a way that breaks the action economy or leads to paladins going supernova all the time.
So we rebuilt the Paladin Smite package with a pair of simple class features and a full suite of new spells, which we'll give an overview of in this video. Let's start with the cornerstone of the whole system. Radiant Smite. This is our revised version of Divine Smite. It is the default Smite spell, the one that we're going to use as a baseline for every other Smite spell that we created. It's meant to replace Divine Smite on the Paladin spell list.
So just like normal Divine Smite, it's a first level evocation spell, but what we're doing differently here is it's an action to cast, and as part of casting the spell, you make a weapon attack as part of casting the spell. If that attack hits, like normal Divine Smite, it does 2d8 radiant damage with a bonus if the fiend is undead. The spell scales just like Divine Smite does, but with the key caveat here that because this is a full spell and not a cantrip, the spell slot is not expended if you miss with the attack.
And that part's very important. And it's a design rule we carried across the entire Smite list, with a couple exceptions that we'll talk about. But Smites are only supposed to cost resources when they actually work. It's simple, it's satisfying, and it softens the blow of rolling really low in that critical moment when you try to throw out your big Smite spell that costs a 5th level spell slot and it misses. You still get to keep the spell slot.
Yeah, and this preserves what paladins are used to already, because with a bonus action smite, you could choose to apply that after your attack already hit. But since we're converting the spell to an action to cast, you have to declare that you're casting the smite before you know whether or not you roll. So we don't want you to give up your resources if you miss, basically. So the casting of Radiant Smite, because it includes the making the weapon attack, we kind of borrowed this from True Strike in the way that that spell works in the 2024 rules, but upgrading it to a full spell. What this achieves is that now the Paladin's bonus action is freed up completely. You can do anything you want with your bonus action, and you can still smite in the same turn. And so goal number 1 achieved. But we got to put in some other fixes to smooth things out.
So we have 2 optional class features, which is going to help out with the whole, but if I'm using my action to smite, then what do I do about extra attack? So before you get all worried about the one action casting time not synergizing, we introduced these optional class features. At level 2, you gain Righteous Smite. You get 1 additional smite spell prepared for spell level that you can cast. These don't count against your normal spell prep limit, so you're always picking at least a few smites, no matter what else you want to prepare. So the smites aren't clogging up your spell selection. You're just going to have a suite of extra smite spells at the ready. You can equip more if you want, but you're at least going to have a few.
And then at level 5, we're giving an alternate version of extra attack that is inspired by the way Valor Bards and Blade Singers work with cantrips and extra attack. So a Valor Bard or a Blade Singer, they can cast a cantrip in place of one of their attacks with extra attack. What we're letting the Paladin do is cast a Smite spell in place of one of their attacks with extra attacks. So now we've got the full action economy smoothed over. At level 5, you can do one smite, one regular attack, and then do whatever you want with your bonus action. If you happen to miss with the smite that you chose to use, great, you didn't expend the spell slot to use it, you can try again next round.
And so with that, that's all smoothed over, but what about the smites? So we built a full range of smite spells that follow the Radiant Smite model. So for example, here's just a few that we've designed. We have Renewing Smite that allows you to heal nearby allies when you hit with the smite. We have Reactive Smite, which brings back smiting on a reaction. So that was something that we felt was missing. If it's a reaction casting time, it's a variant on the smite, which allows you to trigger it off of an opportunity attack. We also have some fun things like Punishing Smite that knocks enemies prone, and all of those are just the level 1 options, so we've made a bunch more.
Yeah, we made some higher level ones that include Burning Smite, which does fire damage and sets your enemies on fire using our new burning condition. We've got ones that do cold damage and freeze them, ones that do lightning damage and shock them. We have some smites which teleport allies, smites which bring a little bit of battlefield control into the Paladin's arsenal. We also made Counter Smite, which is counter spell, but in smite form. So if you're up against one of those spellcasters and they're casting a spell, you can both counter their spell and hit them in the face. Is there anything more Paladin than that?
You can't cast a spell,
Yeah,
sword.
yeah. And so we think that giving all of these extra tools in the Paladin's arsenal sort of makes up for the fact that, like, with the original Divine Smite, you did have that flexibility of choosing to smite when you actually hit with an attack. But now we're giving you a more active bonus that is happening on top of your smite. And so if you want to heal an ally, you want to heal them regardless of whether or not your attack hits. And so with some of the smite spells that we've made, the extra effect, like healing somebody or teleporting them or even countering the spell, that effect happens regardless of whether or not the spell hits or misses. But for those smite spells that have an effect that happen, even if they miss, you always expend them regardless. So that's kind of the counterbalance that we're playing with here.
Now, obviously, we're not going to cover every one of the spells that we've created, but they are all included in our Eldritch Experiments PDF available now for our patrons. So if you hop onto our Patreon at the $10 tier, you can download the full PDF of our extended rules and all of our Smite spells, as well as all the previous month's Eldritch Experiments. We did one on Rangers. We've released several subclasses, including a pretty cool Dragon Warlock, as well as some new apothecaries for our own class that we made, and a whole bunch of other stuff that we've released. Some new spells, some new feats, all sorts of cool things. So if you are hopping on to get this PDF, don't forget to download all the rest of the additional Eldritch Experiments.
Yeah, but from what we've shared in this video, this is the basic idea that you can try out for yourself, give it a shot at your table. The big question with this experiment is whether switching the smite spells to an action works. Because we were tempted to just make a bunch of new smite spells that still use bonus actions, and we could still do that. So we're specifically looking for feedback on whether that's the right call, or whether just we kind of make Paladin smites more meaningful again by just making 2 or 3 different smite spells for every spell level, so Paladins actually have a lot of options to choose from.
Again, I do think that one of my biggest issues, though, was the clogging of the bonus actions. So keep that in mind if you are trying out these new Smite ideas and you are going with our reworked rules for how that is with the action spell casting.
Yeah.
Because I really want to know, does it feel good to free up the bonus action? Because I personally believe it does. And that was one of the core principles behind this, is making sure that I guess the big goal here is that Monty and I loved the 2014 Paladin. It was one of our favorite classes.
Yeah.
We've had to come to terms with the fact that a lot of the things that we loved in 2014 was because Monty and I knew how to exploit the rules to
To
get the
do
most
max
out of them.
damage.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
could crank out huge numbers with a Paladin, which is why I loved it so much. And when I looked at the 2024 rules, I was like, I see the problem that they're addressing, but had they done it the right way is the question. And it's rules are fiddly and it can be tough to land on the exact right thing.
Mm.
So now that the rules are out and we've had some time to sit with them, this is kind of our fix because what we want is to focus on versatility and creativity. The options that a player has to bring their paladin
Yeah.
to life in new and interesting ways without relying on burst nova damage from being able to crit all the time
Yeah,
or
and
smite all the time.
yeah, and so that's why we really wanted to focus the Smite spells that we made not on here's a boatload of extra damage dice to roll on your attack, but here's interesting effects that let the paladin contribute in more tactical and interesting ways. And also, I feel like because they're spells, they let us do different things from like the battle master fighter, right? They let us do things like heal people and teleport people because these are things that feel more magical and divine inspired, whereas we don't want to go into the conceptual area of the battle master that feels like they're doing maneuvers on their attack. So even though we do have like the knock prone ones and the reaction ones, I like the idea that we could explore more magically and like informed ideas for what smites are supposed to be. And we had a lot of inspiration as well from looking at the Paladin from 4th edition, because this is how a lot of Paladin abilities worked in 4e, and there were a lot of smite spells or smite powers in the 4e Paladin that we could look back to for inspiration as well.
So, if you like the ideas here or you have other thoughts on them, you can let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on the bonus action versus action spell casting, on what sort of smite spells you think would be cool, and whether or not you are trying this out or going to try it out in your own games. Let us know all
Yeah.
of that in the comments below.
The videos that we make on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. As we mentioned in this video, we've got some really cool rewards for our patrons now, including our Eldritch Experiments, but also early access to all of our videos 1 week before they drop on YouTube, as well as some exclusive actual plays DM'd by Kelly, and lots of other fun bonus content. Hanging out with us in our Discord is the best part of it all. Of it all. So if all that sounds good to you, the links are right down below. You can also hit up dungeondudes.com to get over to the Patreon as well.
And if you want to see us trying out all sorts of home rules and kind of bending the rules a bit in our own games, you can watch our actual play in the Worlds of Drakkenheim, which airs Tuesday evenings right here on YouTube. So check out all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we've got plenty more videos where we've been homebrewing our own new mechanics, new subclasses, and more for 5th edition and the 2024 rules. So you can check out all these videos to see what ideas we're brewing up right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time
In the dungeon.